Welcome to the Change Within podcast. This is Gerard Uselli speaking. We are on episode 17, and all walks of life have really been coming to fruition to ensure that the consistency of change remains prevalent throughout our society. And our next guest really is no exception to the rule on this one. Good friend of mine for the last couple of years. His name is Joe Morial, aka Blue Cheese. Joe, how are you?
Great, man. Just got home from work. I'm excited, showered up, nice and fresh, ready to drink a beer.
There we
if
go.
We're able to do that.
A proud moment for Joe Morial.
Always a proud moment, man.
So pretty much to get it right into it, something I like to ask for every guest that's been on my platform before is, what was your childhood like growing up?
I was brought up in a real giant Italian Brooklyn middle class family. It was spread out to different shapes of family. So it was like uncles, aunts, cousins, 17 different ones. And it was really smooth until, teenage hits and then change. You know what I mean? But yeah, no, it was good upbringing. I had a good time.
Absolutely. And I feel like it's inevitable, especially from like the Brooklyn mindset as well. I feel like in that aspect, there's so much family tradition. And then based on how our generation is, there seems to be like a lot of compromise on that. Like, as far as with that regard, what's it kind of been like as far as how your parents have adapted through Brooklyn's years? Like, do you feel like there's been a lot of change that's like influenced them positively or negatively?
Well, definitely negatively. If we're talking about my parents, I've seen a lot of Brooklyn families or Italian families come together in a great manner. You know what I mean? They're always like there's always a progression that pushes families together, and a sense of either loss or gain that bring a family together. In my view and how I saw it when I was a younger kid growing up, my parents didn't understand what really to do, or what how family was built. It was always outside members of the family, like uncles and aunts. They were the real stone that actually brought me up, and with manners and understanding how outside minds work, and how everyone connects together. And then you have another side of the family where they're really like either bigoted or and they have a real negative structure to them,
And being that we're within a generation now where there is so much diversity, and especially in the sense of being a New York City resident for both you and I, here's a question for you. Do you feel like you naturally tend to grow up faster when you live in a big city? And how do you think Brooklyn shapes that?
I think most definitely, only because there's so much different opportunity, the diverse of opportunity of things that are just around the corner in a big city. Even like if you maybe just go to Jersey, and you can see there's still a giant separation piece. Everyone needs a car. You can't walk down the block to go to the deli to get a fucking sandwich. Can I curse on this? Is everything all right? But no, I think a city really helps a young mind and a developing mind to connect with lots of diverse people, lots of difference of creativity. It's really tough when you're let's hypothetically a kid who grew up in New Mexico, his super heated neighborhood is not exactly the full diverse, but there's not a sense of learning there. I feel, you know what I mean? Do you see how like our city can be the greatest city, and how like it could also bring someone down deeply? You know what I mean?
I could also understand that to a sense where ultimately when you're a New York City resident, there is that opportunity to jump right in. I feel like that's the biggest difference between living in a bigger city, especially on the East Coast, rather than your suburban areas, because when it comes down to it, yes, you can make anything your opportunity, but there's always an establishment of confidence when you're in those bigger cities where you're willing
Right.
to try more things and having the acceptance of failing.
Right. I say, okay. Yeah, that's definitely understandable. It's just the sense of clutter. Again, mostly is all a mind state, right? So when you either you grew up in the city, it always helps to, that's who you are. You grew there. You understand it. You understand how to move and how to manipulate like what you need and want and understand stuff. I feel like recently in our generation, I mean, it's happened in past decades, but outside people that have come to New York saying, wow, this is my opportunity. This is a sense of, hey, I'm ready to do it. Either if it's in the entertainment business, in the market and or sales or whatever it is. Usually, if you're an anxious person, you come to the city. It's a little tough, and it helps someone with a weaker sense of being social kind of adapt.
Absolutely. And in that regard, one of those opportunities of jumping in, especially just seeing things within your environment. Now, you went to the same school as rappers Joey Badass and the Pro Era unit in Brooklyn.
Wait, yes.
What was it like witnessing their come up and perspective?
So it started, I went to New Utrecht High School for 2 years. So that's in Bensonhurst, Brooklyn, under the D train in New Utrecht Avenue. So I painted a lot when I was a kid. That was one of like the slower things that I've developed when I was smaller to like hit high school, and it just kind of like flew, So once I started painting, I painted this big piece of an African goddess in a Santeria like culture in Africa, and I sent it to the principal of Edward R. Morrow, who was a principal at the time. Sorry, I lost his name. And he enjoyed it. So they transferred me over to Morrow. And I was like really optimistic about that. So when I got there, I started, trying to sneak into like the music and the painting. And Morrow is an all arts school. So there's no, we don't have a sports team. We didn't have a sports team. And it was mostly like dance, theater, music. That's basically like the main. So as a 16-year-old coming out of school, or like once in a while cutting, or doing whatever you have to do, we would be across the street at the schoolyard across from Morrow. Also forgot the name of the schoolyard. But so there would be like 3 or 4 different groups of people out there smoking or drinking, having a good time, understanding like, hey, this is the end of the day, let's party until we have to pass out and come back in the morning. So me being out there, I was a metalhead, and I was in a band called Behold the Bitter Truth. I did vocals for the band, and so I would go across the street to this park, and it would just be a bunch of kids just freestyling, understand, like battling, having fun, skating, a lot of skating, and at the time I didn't really understand it because I didn't know who Joey was. I knew who Capital Steez was. In the sense of like conversation, like
wow,
yeah, he was a great kid, and whatever it was, we had a good time, and it wasn't until a year after Morrow is where I really got to understand, because I didn't listen to them. I was listening. I mean, I was listening to hip hop as well, but I was listening deep into a heavy metal scene, a hardcore scene, and I used to find you've probably seen me run around dancing, getting beat up, bloody, blown out. You know what I mean? But that was my thing. I was into the band aspect. So a year later, I was listening to Pro Era, not even like I haven't spoken to them. I didn't really, you know what I mean? We haven't been connected in any way. And then I really started listening deeply to 1999, of
course, that was like an essential classic back then.
Come on, man, and so after that, I started looking into Dime a Dozen. If you know who Dime a Dozen is. He had this little mixtape called the Ghetto Olympics that I listened to, and I I heard it, and I had to like contact him again. I'm like, hey man, nice to fucking hear your shit. It's been great. So I saw him actually like maybe a year before this COVID garbage happened. I went to go see Dime a Dozen, and my friend from New Utrecht, Marquise, he's in a band called Q&A, and they're like this like hip hop, jazzy, upbeat, beautiful, fun music that I very much enjoy to listen to. You should try to check that out. Q&A.
Yeah, I definitely will.
Yeah.
Absolutely on that. And kind of like in the sense of their community, as far as you going, like you hanging around with them, like after school and stuff like that. How
Right.
big was that presence back then? Like how many people in a unit were like just hanging out, like getting to know each other in that sense?
It felt okay. So Morrow was a huge school, and I can't give you a number on like how many students, but like we would, I guess for graduation, whatever it is, they would rent out the Madison Square Garden Theater just for their graduation. So what is that? Around like 4,000 kids or something crazy? You know what I
Oh
mean?
my God. That's like Tonneville High School for Staten Island.
Yeah, exactly. So like it's basically we would come out and we would go to the corner where there was a 7-Eleven, right? Then we had a Chinese food spot, little 99-cent store, whatever. And we would go to this, Chock full of nuts. They had like yeah, you never see like a storefront of Chock full of nuts like ever, right? Like those little, no, you don't walk into a Chock full of nuts, but we had one of those and I was excited. But I'm a coffee dude, you know what I mean? So yeah, it's basically like half the school being on the sidewalk, just our mutual friend, this kid Donnell that I used to hang with, he was friends with them and he was friends with the metal kids. So it was like that was our my bridge to like just experience. I'm gonna say like genius. You know what I mean? I've experienced like very creativity, a real sense of creativity of the people that I was around in high school. That was peak moments of my life. Much enjoyable.
And the final follow up on that, just for the sake of you referencing Capital Steez, what was it like to actually converse with him?
He was real mellow. He was real soft when you spoke to him. I just keep remembering the day. I can't like really get it out of my brain of when like when he actually passed. It was like I come out of school and I was in the pizzeria across the street from like that 7-Eleven. And it was just like a giant sense of like muteness. Like no one was speaking. It was like real rough. It was real rough. And again, at that time, I didn't like understand it as much as I do now. But yeah, no, it was pretty just crazy to experience, just to understand. Even conversing with him for 20-minute conversation could be, I could have learned the last 20 years of my life. You know what I mean?
And that's definitely compelling for the sense of his music and what he was capable of as far as putting out at the time. And kind of fast forwarding a little bit in that regard. So like, as far as your career now, you're in custom design and you do a lot of stuff with homes and interior decorating. Do you feel like you're enriching people's homes by their personality traits?
I like to think about it like that because I would like to actually get to know them, right? Depending on the piece, because right, like in the daytime, I'm working in a grill factory where like they make grills and that's just like little side money for me. And so what I do is last week or 2 weeks ago, I did this little sculpture of a rabbi. It was a little rabbi sculpture. I live near Borough Park. I'm in Chinatown, and this rabbi wanted like these gold details around like the necklace he had. I'm not sure what, again, names and but I put little structural details of clothing and line work and colors, and I could refurbish like a super old like sculpture that's cracked and grayed out and stuff like that, and kind of give it life. But what I do for the interior of homes, I do feel like I enrich a home, because hey, you buy a home for $3 million and you make the inside of the rooms royalty rooms, crown moldings with silver drops and chandelier decorative designs, and I feel like, yeah, you're the value of your home is going up. And besides that value, like if you lay on linen sheets, looking around golden, you know what I mean? It's Game of Thrones episode. It's a beautiful Game of Thrones episode.
Yeah, 1,000% on that. As far as like on your first experience doing that type of design work, was there ever a project you worked on for like your first time? You were just like, wow, I can't believe I'm attributing this to like this person's house.
Yeah, I actually spoke to my uncle about this last week because he kind of wants it in his house. But I, when I was 17, I think, or 18, I did this piece. It was like a granity marble. Um, some guys had to come and install the marble and granite stuff, and then I had to like shave down like wavy details and put like gold leaf inside, and it was a fireplace basically, you know what I mean? So it was like it was the granite for a fireplace, and it was beautiful, man, beautiful. I was like so young when I did it though, you know what I mean? So now I think about it, I'm like, I want to do another piece like that. That'd be pretty fun.
That would be
Or
awesome to
mirrors, like,
re-experience.
yeah. I'll, like the even mirrors, like how like you have a picture frame of something and have like a nice design and blah blah blah. So like
Oh, of
people,
course.
yeah. So some people enjoy mirrors. So like when they get a framed mirror and you get to like free design on it, those are one of the funnest times that I get to do work on mirrors. It doesn't sound
And
appealing, but when you look at it.
now to kind of enhance the riveting aspect of what your answer is in that regard, how would you
Yeah.
design your dream home, knowing all your experience? What would it look like?
Ooh, that's a good question. I like that. Okay, so I don't think it would look like any of my work at all. You know what I mean? I don't think I'd do. I mean, I enjoy antique. Maybe I'll have like a basement, like steampunk theme. You know what I mean? Where like
Sure.
copper and like, yeah, I mean, old school like 1880s cash register, old giant clickers. You know what I mean? I think I'd have a real abstract home. Colors everywhere, all different colors everywhere. Sculptures everywhere, all different sculptures everywhere. And just, yeah, I feel like I have weird ideas. Like I had this idea to like have people come over and like write something on a post-it and like draw something on the back of that post-it and like put it on the wall, and then like get like pieces of brass or like stainless steel or something and like carve their exact whatever they wrote and picture or whatever it is to like a steel something and just drill it on the hallway of my in my hallway. And I just want like a nice little I don't want to say memorial because that's not the way to go, but just something interesting. I think just random interesting pieces, or like take a picture of someone in front of a wall, right, and then like draw the outline of their body, and then like they'll sign it, and then it'll be like just a row of people sitting on the floor but on the wall. You know what I mean?
So it's funny you say that, because not to say that it's really that similar, but if I was to compare anything close to it, and it's pretty much apples to oranges based on its design. If you look at Barstool Sports' new office, they have a mural of all their essential people from the beginning, where it's like you have this very stoic portrait of Dave Portnoy, and then like you have Big Cat, PFT, all these different types of people who have been there since the beginning. You kind of get their most like substantial part of their contributions of being part of the company. I feel like in some way, shape, or form, it compares a little bit to what you're saying.
I could see it. Yeah, it's their own sense on a mural, and so it's not really like you're doing these pieces or you actually need people to contribute and like give them a sense of them to your home, especially if they're important to you in your life.
Absolutely. And kind of in the sense of your own design by choice, I want to get into your tattoos because I respect people for really going towards the lifestyle and commitment of what tattoos mean and how much time it takes to actually do them. So tell me about your first tattoo and what made you want to differ your lifestyle by getting them all over you.
It began where like I was rebelling, so I think I was I was just entering high school, so I was like 14. I was big, very. I wouldn't say angry kid because I was upbeat. Everyone's all positive around me. I'm all positive around them. But I think I was fighting internally, and I was like, dude, I need a piercing. I need something, and it was really intense. So my mom was like, no, you're not getting no piercings, man. You can't. I'm gonna bug out on you. And I was like, oh, tattoo's better. And she's like, yeah. And I was like, that doesn't even make sense. I'm like, that it didn't make sense to me. I wanted like a lip ring, dude. I wanted a lip ring. And then she was like, no, I might as well. You might as well get a tattoo. And I was like, okay, yeah, let's get a tattoo. And then like I didn't really say anything after that. I just kind of went to the place and did it. It says blue cheese. It was my first tattoo. In junior high, I ate a lot of blue cheese with wings, obviously, and people just started calling me blue cheese. So freshman year of high school, I got approved by my mom to get a tattoo, and then that was it. I went to a place in Sunset, and it was like a really weird basement guy, and he did like graffiti. So I was like, I'm gonna get graffiti. And then so that was the first piece I've ever gotten. But what kind of like made me blend myself with ink is again, there's a lot of stuff that goes on in my brain in the sense of negativity, even though I tried not to let it sneak in there. But besides the negative things, I feel like these are stamps and pieces of times in my life. So even if it's a horrible tattoo, even if it just sucks in the sense of quality or makes no sense or whatever it is, I will remember that day and that time in my life. And I feel like instead of stamping a passport, which I do want to do a lot, I stamp myself with memories of my life.
Do you feel like with all your body tattoos and just everything part of what you decided to get, is it kind of like a message of statement as far as the good and bad in your life?
Yeah, it's definitely a statement. I mean, there's a lot of people who are again just heavily bigoted. There's just something in my own brain that I can't really understand about not people being negative, because I could understand a negative part of a person, but I can't understand hate for different varieties of people. So
Weird.
I
It's
think
weird how it's
subconsciously,
embedded in people.
right? Yeah, and then how it's actually stored and won't leave. Like you can't change that mind for, you know what I mean. So I feel like the statement piece that I'm kind of saying, even though like I'm not stamping any label on nothing that I'm doing publicly, but I think subconsciously, if someone could look at me and be like, oh, look at that kid, he can't be any good. You don't know who I am, you know what I mean. So as you get to know me, maybe people understand better instead of just looking at me very scared like.
And I think like one of those essences as far as getting to know you as a person over the past couple of years, especially for something that we did a couple weeks back, I learned
Yeah.
something about your 75 tattoo on your head. I
Yeah.
wanted to know a little bit more for the viewers for what that story entails and what inspired you to get that as a number for you.
Okay, when I was younger, I had a godfather. I still have a godfather. I'm not sure where he is, but we he was very religious. You know, he was a Catholic, but he also studied African cultures and different religions and stuff like that. So I went in depth with him and studied with him, and we went with like astrology as birthdays and stuff like that. But when we understood that, we kind of figured out who my mother and father in those god senses, in the African god senses, and my mother is Ochung and my father's Obatala in some African god religions. Um, yeah, Yemaya and Ochung are the ones that are tattooed on my arm, and Yemaya's number is 7 and Ochung's number is 5. And besides that sense, I see 75 basically everywhere. Like everywhere I go. But this is not some 2023 movie with Jim Carrey. I'm not talking like there's a sense of where maybe it could be understood, but um it's a very spiritual number to me. And everything that I've done that's been very important in my life has had those numbers some way or another. Um And I've always said this when I was like 8 years old. Since I've been 8 years old, um, I never actually knew why I said it, but I always felt it. Right, when you do something half-assed, you're half-assing something. Right, it's not going to come out correct. Oh, if you put your 100% in something, I feel like you're 100%. You're overthinking sometimes if you're that type of human to overthink. You're overdoing it. You're trying to understand things. You're doing too much or too little, and you're just overworking. 75% is that sweet spot of what you need to do. You don't want to burn yourself out, but you can't slack on bullshit. You know.
It's a very interesting statement because people in America, and this has always been talked about, especially in the last
110%.
yeah,
110%.
exactly within the last like one or two generations specifically, you have all these influencers, they're advocating for that 110% effort, not realizing that those things ultimately lead to addiction. So
Yeah.
there needs to be that situational balance of whatever you
Right.
commit to, as far as you being your own person in that regard, and then whatever else in your life you attribute to, whether it's a relationship, whether it's your hobbies, whether it's a passion project you want to get yourself towards, you need to keep you as yourself as your biggest priority.
Always. Always. And I didn't really understand that for a long time. My father brought me up as wake up, work, come home, drink, eat, go to sleep. And that's 7 days a week, never stops, always. And I, for a long time, I took that same algorithm and was still wondering why my mental state was fucked. You know what I mean? But I didn't, I'm still working on how I can maneuver my mental state to being somewhat not stable, but like good, okay. You know what I mean? And I have to, I bring it up all the time because it's very important. And like a lot of people really think that it's just a side thing, So when people say, my mental health or my anxiety is this, a lot of one of the first thoughts that come into people's brains, like, all right, next story or next post that someone's gonna. And in ways, yeah, sometimes you have to filter some negative things that are constantly going to show up on your social media or people in person. But really, mental health is a super ridiculously important thing, because I can't even tell you how many times like I've seen or understood or like thought to myself horrible things. You don't want that. No one really wants that.
Mental
It's
health
just
is ultimately bigger than what you can imagine.
right. Yeah, it's not. Yeah, there's no essence of what it could be.
Exactly. And with that being said, on my final question, as this always comes into the aspect of change, what's the biggest change you want to see for yourself this year?
Um, I'm actually I'm working really hard on changing how I work and how I sustain myself, in the sense of I'm kind of tired of that 9 to 5 session or 7 to 3 session for the morning, and I want more of my creative pieces to come out and keeping me stable. So I'm working on some projects that I'm probably going to need some funding for. So I'm going to have to work just deeply. How we just said now, I'm going to have to like 110% it until I get my funds. But I have this Drunken Chronicles thing that I'm doing. I wrote a few episodes of maybe like a mini series that I'm trying to do, of just a story of this kid from Brooklyn who is troubled and very drunk all the time, and what those days or what his decisions lead to, and how that could be very bad. And it's going to be maybe half comedy, half deep drama. And I have a lot of projects that I'm working on, like a lot of projects. It's just that now I need to just get them filmed. So instead of me flooding my brain with video games for my mental health, I'm going to start as soon as I get my set of computer, a camera, all my stuff. I'm gonna do like a therapy driven maybe podcast. I'm thinking about maybe, but it's more for me, for like a diary, I guess, that I'll just release to public. It's just a whole bunch of rant. As long as I'm creating, that's all I want to do. I need to create myself, and I need to release these products. I need to release them, and I need more to be written. I need more to be shot, and maybe I'll come back here and you'll see the change of maybe an elevated, beautiful channel that I'm doing.
Well, the future will definitely tell that one. And to conclude, thank you for joining the Change Within podcast. For those who want to listen to us but haven't yet, please check out the Change Within podcast on Anchor, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Joe, thank you very much for joining me tonight, and have a great night.
Thank you, Jerry.
All right. Have a good one.
Have a great night, bud.
You got it.